Good morning, YouTube. I'm working on this 98 Legacy wagon here and started getting into it. I thought this might be a good car to kind of show you how to address vehicles that have sort of a flat middle but a very curved ends. Your Volkswagen hatches, Mark 4, Mark 5, well, definitely Mark 5, Mark 6 Golfs and Jetta wagons, things like that. You'll run into this on I remember the older Neons, was it 99 to 05 Neons have this issue. There's a few. We're just gonna finish kind of getting this prepped. But essentially, you don't always have to shrink all of the film. And that's where sometimes you can run into trouble, is when you're trying to get the thing 100% shrunk. Because you can only do so much shrinking on these sides. You know, over here in the corner, bottom corner. And so what I like to do is I'll leave a little bit of extra over here. Now, once you apply the film, you might get some little fingers coming in from the side, but that's pretty easy to address with a little bit of heat. Hard card, just kind of let the adhesive do its thing. So we're gonna work with our H pattern just like always, but what we're gonna try to do is not have too much film bunched up right here. And also right here. This one looks like it's gonna be probably more difficult at the bottom than on the top. So like I said, we're just gonna kind of let the film almost just rest where it wants to rest naturally. You can even kind of pull out a little bit just to kind of sort of take a little bit of our shrinking out of the back glass. So trusty Harbor Freight cotton glove or whatever these are. And was there a window? Good. And kind of what I've said in the previous videos, I like to start on the outsides and just work my way, sort of pushing this film towards the middle. And we're not going to really try to force anything, at least not yet. So just kind of shrink a little bit, and then we're just gonna keep sort of doing what we're gonna do out here on the end. Always trying to make vertical lines here to shrink, and just take it nice and slow. And this is a good sort of time to be attentive to how much heat you're using. You use a lot of heat. Look, there's Chloe. Good morning, Chloe. What are you doing? What are you doing, old lady? Huh? I'm sorry? 20 ATC. So back to what we're doing. I always love it when my puppy comes and visits me. But we're gonna start on the corner, because you got probably from here to here where you could shrink all the film you could ever need to shrink because it's so flat. But these corners, you only get so much, and then it starts shriveling up, melting. You'll get some like heavy shrink lines, things like that. The other thing I like to do on these ones where I know I'm gonna have some excess film is I will cut them large, and then that way if anything happens on these ends because I got it too hot, well, I'm gonna be cutting this up here. So my main concern is making this look good from here up. And if I get a little too hot down below that line, it's not really gonna matter. If you cut it exact right away, if you're getting something a little hot, you cinch up that edge, well, you're either gonna be trying to cover up some creases or just some ugliness with some heat, or you'll be starting all over from the beginning. See, look, we're starting to get it a little bit hot in that corner there. But since we left some extra, it's not gonna matter too much. Just see, so you can see that film's starting to run out of shrink there. And what we're gonna do is just kind of keep the heat gun a little bit further away and ease into shrinking it. We only want to shrink it exactly as much as we need, nothing more. We're just going to keep kind of working this around, work it over to the sides if you can, and just use every inch of this edge of the film to try to get this shrunk down. And what I like to do when I know something's gonna fight me a little bit, I will start on the more difficult areas first. That way, if I screw up, don't waste quite as much time, grab another piece and go to town with it. But let's see. Just kind of start working this over, kind of hold a hand there and let this do its thing. Just kind of working things over there. Oh, look, see, we're starting to get a little too much here. Now, one thing you can do on these films, and this goes for just about every film, the other reason it's kind of nice to have a little extra on the end, you can grab this, kind of give it a little tug, stretch that film out. So you don't always have to be stretching the film, you can, or shrinking the film. You can sometimes stretch it if you get like a little bit of a bad spot. As long as it's with the grain, you can just lift that film up, give it a little tug, and kind of hit it, suspend it in the air there, let it lay back down, and then go about your business. So we're gonna kind of fast forward through this real quick. Getting close. I don't know if you can see where our cut edge is, and we're not really concerning ourselves with anything past that black band. Once we get it shrunk up to that black band, you can sort of do whatever you want, because that's all going to get cut off. I think we're going to leave it right here for now. Let's go to the top. Just like I said, try to push as much over as you can so that you don't end up with too much happening on these corners here. So this is gonna have a lot. I'm probably gonna just pull a little bit more out. Just kind of heat it, work it over. Just give it a little tug and a stretch. Give it a little tug and a stretch, some heat. See, black band's right there. We just want to get it shrunk up to that black band in good shape, and we're going to cut off all the rest. Come on, baby. Now, if you pulled a little, like this side went really, really easy. If you think you can get a little bit more out of it, you can just take some of that finger from the side, just kind of work it into the top and bottom, and then that'll make less that you have to deal with on the side. Kind of the opposite of the other side, where I think I got a little too much on the top and bottom, and I want to pull it out to the side a little bit, and I'll address that after I install it. Alright, so I think we're ready to trim this up, kind of see where we land. Again, I mentioned this in, I believe it was my Impreza video. One of the things I found really prolongs the life of the heat guns is if you have a cool mode on it, just flip it down to that cool mode, even 5-10 seconds, kind of let it cool down a little bit, and I don't know, seems to help add years of life to it. So I'm trimming this, and you can kind of see this side pillar is a little bit smaller on the inside than the outside. I need to take this brake light off anyways, give us a nice look behind the brake light. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove all of this interior panel. It should just kind of come apart. Let's see. Looks like the side is on top of the top. Let's see. Come on. No, actually the top's on top of the side. It's kind of what I would have assumed. So usually these will be on first, these will be on, and then this will be on last. Just trying to be careful. This thing's a 98 and it's in really, really good condition. Only has 73,000 miles on a 98. So we don't want to be the first person to break it. So we can take this out of our way while we're here. What do we do? There we go. Got a little push in, releases it in the back over there. And then slide that out. And give it a little wiggle. Alright, got a clips here. We got just a little bit here. You can see almost all of our excess on the sides has been cut off. There's gonna be a tiny little bit here, and what we'll do once we get this installed, might hit it with the heat gun just a little bit, see what it does. But for the most part, everything that's left behind can be handled with a little bit of heat and a hard card after it's been installed on the inside. Let's just see what happens though. Very, very slow heat. Because we've already gotten this far, we don't want a chance screwing nothing up. haven't seen in my videos yet, on back windows, I don't like to use this on the windshields just because if it gets even the smallest piece of dust from the edges or something, it really shows up any scratch or anything in that Air 80 film. But on these back windows, anything even just a little bit, you're not gonna see it. You'll see big scratches, but I don't really have too much issue hammering this out with the Llumar on small scratches. I just don't like to risk it, you know. It's on the windshield, it's right in front of your face, the light catches it just right, and everything always shows up. So like I said, we left a little bit on the sides here, and we can come back. So you can throw this out in the sun, let it dry on its own a little bit, bring it back in. You can touch these up. A good test is just, if it'll lay down with the towel now, it'll lay down with the towel later. If you're kind of wanting to make for certain before you get on to the next things, get your heat gun, get your torch, and just give it a little bit of heat, and we can kind of just see exactly what we're dealing with here. And that's kind of like I was saying at the beginning of the video, you can leave a little bit and deal with it after you've installed it. You don't have to shrink everything right away. Let's see. One thing I will say, if you're heating out fingers, there's still a lot of water in the film right now. And while you can apply a fair amount of heat to the tint and to the adhesive, the water will boil. And so you always kind of want to be mindful of how hot you're getting the glass. If you can hold your hand there, you're probably all right. If you pull away right away, you're either already boiled the water, and you end up getting these, especially on the defogger lines, it'll just bubble up. Sometimes you can recover from that, it's not too bad, but sometimes you end up kind of trapping air. A little bit from shrinking. So this is kind of like a hard shrink line, not quite a crease, but a hard shrink line. I just want to work out. Let's come work on these here. Just nice and slow, and you can just see how these will just, you don't want them too big. If they're more than like an inch, you're probably going to be having a hard time with it, especially on the sides. But using the sides to kind of take out some of your shrinking, always a good plan. This works good on, I mean, anything that has a lot of curve, Corvettes, like I had mentioned earlier, Volkswagen hatchbacks and wagons, some of the old Hondas where it kind of just curves right away. I think Toyota has a few, but these Subaru wagons, the older Imprezas, kind of the same thing. And so what I'll do is I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'll come back tiny little bit more on the sides to heat. Nobody will ever see anything, but yeah, worked out super good. So if you thought this was helpful, please give me a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, go ahead and subscribe. I always kind of come across something, want to share it with you guys, so I appreciate it. Thank you.